You're tuned in to Shop Talk, presented by RaceOnTexas.com. Here's your host, Caleb McFarland.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Here we are back again, episode 6 of Shop Talk. And joining us this week is the birthday boy, Corey Groundhog Neal, sharing the birthday with old Puxatawny Phil. Happy birthday, man. We're turning, what, 16, 17?
17 now.
17 years old. And, you know, if my memory serves me right with a little bit of digging and archiving, that makes you the youngest winner of a Texas Grand.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Texas Grand has a lot of history to it, and say I was the youngest one to do it. That's pretty cool, I guess.
You guess. I mean, that you sound a little hesitant on that. That was pretty cool, I guess. I mean, we'll kind of backtrack in a minute, but you know that was the last big race you had. You know, a week after that, you went down to Corpus, but you know, Texas Grand. You go out there. Talk us through the weekend, man. We'll recap this real quick, and then we'll kind of backtrack a minute. But
yeah, so we started out, had a different car. We used a different car. One of my sponsors, Robert Metz, he let me use his car there. And so we went to Cleveland and see what we was going to have to do, practice. And we was really good in practice. I think we were fast time overall in practice. And then heat race, we got a good starting spot in the heat race. Did pretty good in that and won it. And then we started front row inside of the feature and didn't get a good start like we wanted to, and followed behind Howard Willis, the legend. And on the last lap, we finally got him and picked up the win.
And you know, I had the pleasure of being on the call for that one, and man, I can, just the way you painted it up just now, it all just comes back exactly how it was on the track. You know, just one of those last minute opportunities, white flag lap. You know, right there before the restart. You had something for him. It was one of those deals where everyone upstairs and in the stands was kind of wondering about, well, I mean, Howard knows he's coming. Is he going to be able to hold him off? Is he going to try to block him? What's going to happen? And then you have that restart, and then y'all get to the white flag, and I mean, the rest is history for, you know, per se, because you just, I mean, really just pretty much say it. You outdrove the man, myth, and the legend.
Yeah, he was messing up a lot, and I was really surprised, and I knew my car was a little better because I could kind of get some more straightaway speed, and I could turn in pretty good and turn down the track. Like, I don't think no one else could really do that, and it was pretty good. And then finally got him on that last lap. He pushed up real good, and I was like, man, this is crazy. I'm about to pass him on the last lap, and went in there, and I think we barely touched. And coming out of 4, I wasn't real sure. I just gassed as hard as I could and looked straight, and didn't even know I won until last lap I came around and saw my Uncle Chad. He was all pumped up jumping, and so I figured I won. And yeah, it was a pretty good night. That's probably the best night I ever had at a race.
So, you know, what would you say, how's it feel, man? You 16 years old at the time. You just won your first Texas Grand in a limited modified. I mean, what's that as far as like a pinnacle moment, you know, of just enshrining, I guess you could say, enshrining your name in the history books of the Grand?
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I said, the history it has, and I remember going to a race. My dad went there one time, and he did all right. And then my uncle, he won a race there, and I remember going there, and just a little kid, always wanted to be out there, and never thought I would win that race. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and if I remember right, Chad, you won the Chad's sitting over here in the side in the peanut gallery. You won over at Royal Purple in the street stocks, I believe it. Yeah, okay, I'm getting a head nod, and you know, so that was 2014. I want to say 2015. One of the last 2 years that we had the Grand over there at Royal Purple, and you know, so you were around for that one. I mean, you were around for many of your dads. So, you know, how long have you been in the dirt track race and ball game?
I would say probably 2012. I started racing a go-kart, and then my dad got me a junior mini. That actually it was my cousin's old junior mini. Got it a couple years back, and then we got that all together. We pretty much rebuilt the whole thing and went out there and raced it a couple times and won a couple times and lost a couple times. We had like the wrong gear in it, so it wasn't really that fast, but we would still, I guess, outdrive them, you would say. And then my uncle got me a limited. Built that and started racing that and won a couple of times in the rookies at Beaumont and raced one time at Leesville when it's still around, Cleveland, Manny, a bunch of different tracks around. Boot Hill, I think, a couple of times, Lone Star. Started racing that for a couple years, and then we got IRP Limited. Been racing that for a little bit, won some races in it this year, and now we got a late model, and raced a crate late model, and we're going to race that and limited on and off too.
And, you mentioned rookie limited class in Beaumont. I remember distinctly, I may go on a limb and say it was your first career rookie limited when you'd split them 3 wide going on a turn 2. And anyone that's, familiar with Beaumont, you could run 3 wide, but the car that's closest to the infield, they're almost in the dust of the infield. It's wide enough if you finesse it right. And I remember watching it and announcing it from the press box. You came off the cushion and you split a car that pushed up on exit and the guy that was right there on the tires. And man, that was one, even, let's see, that was at least 3 years ago. So 14, 15 years old, you're already making, grown folk, shall we say, stand up in the grandstands hooting and hollering for you. I mean, it's starting pretty early.
Yeah, I think we were all wild back then. Like, it was crazy.
Back then, you're still a little wild. I mean, anyone that's been around you.
Yeah. I've grown a whole bunch. You can ask everybody. And I think I'm getting a little better now than I was. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. You're running a full schedule this year. Y'all don't really run out for points, but, chasing big races, looking at maybe going to the big race at RPM in a few weeks, maybe even, get ready to go, who knows, maybe in the cards, go throw the car together and get ready and go run an enduro this weekend. So y'all do a great job of, getting out there and running different tracks and, kind of getting your feet wet. And it really makes you versatile when you go to different places. And, you have, I guess you could say, a setup book for each time you go to a track, and you just kind of roll with the setup you went the time before, or you just kind of be like, well, let's just try something different.
Yeah, especially, I've heard a lot of people say, and if you go to big races and stuff, the big guys are normally there, and you get way better. You race with the best of the best guys that are going to be there, around. And so if you do pretty good there, you're pretty dang good when you go back to your home track or something like that, and you just have a lot more knowledge, I guess you'd say, in your setup book, and yeah.
And you was talking about big names earlier before we kind of got going. We were getting all the equipment set up. Tell a story about your racing, door to door with Bagley, back in what, over the summertime it was?
Yeah, it was last year of 19 summer.
Last year was 2020.
Same thing.
And the way it kind of flew by and everything just kind of went. We could just call it the same thing. We just blink and we're in the same year. It feels like to an extent, but you're getting to be around a lot of big names. You're getting to go and do a lot of things that racers your age aren't really getting to do, as far as traveling so much. And how would you say that that's helped you in the long run? For setting yourselves up for success years down the line, getting all this traveling experience now, and you mentioned getting better by running with the guys that are real strong in other areas for when you come back home. But, what's that do as far as the mental aspect and the confidence to be able to go run with the top guys at different tracks?
Well, I love going, like, racing Boot Hill and where all the fast guys are, because when you race against them guys, it's the best of the best competition. And if you outrun them, you're pretty good. And so you just, I don't know, like, it's just a lot of fun, and you get way more knowledge, and racing multiple day shows, how the track's going to be, and track could give you 3 different types of track surface throughout the night, and you just know what to do with your car and just a lot of different stuff.
And you mentioned, getting to watch the track over a couple days. We just saw how East Bay over there in Tampa changed with the Lucas Oil late models. From night 1 to night 6, you had 6 different tracks. And, on the note of, running big shows and big events like that, you've gone and traveled with old Tyler Erb, old Turbo, over the last couple summers. Didn't go this last summer. But if I remember right, the two previous summers, you went up there and traveled with him and, pulled out the old pen and paper and started learning a little thing or two about a thing or two.
Yeah, definitely with them guys. You learn a bunch, and good or bad. There's a lot of bad stuff not to do, you don't want to do, and then there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I've always wanted to race like at the top tier late models and stuff. I always like watching them, and then Tyler told me before I went there, he said, you're either going to like racing or you're not going to like racing. And then after that, I mean, I still love it. I mean, that's what I want to do now. And so I think that's pretty cool to go do that.
So, like, what would you say would be, like, some of the things that you learned, not really having to get specific, but, setup-wise from things that they do and that you see on the bigger level that you're able to take back to your program here in the Southeast Texas, Western Louisiana area, that's helped you progress because, as the phrase is, knowledge is power. So, it makes you more of a stronger, dominant, competitor.
Yeah, I mean, I learn a lot by watching like how they react to stuff. If they get thrown a slider on them or something like that, I feel like I learn a whole bunch like that. And just like track surface, like what to do like during the track surface, like if it's like rubbering up, you need to get to the rubber, you know what I mean? Like simple stuff, and going to the top, making smart choices and doing just smart stuff, like how they drive. And like that's the best of the best guys. They're professionals. They're the best to ever do it, you know what I mean? So
yep.
You just got to, I don't know, just see what they do.
And, that's kind of one of those deals where, we learn a lot from observing. And, you go from being the one that's always, here, scrape the mud off or this, that, and the other, straighten the body out. But, in the grand scheme of things, while that's happening, you're able to pay attention and notice, what's getting changed as far as, maybe shock adjustments or spring rates changing, to be able to, know what the track's doing and then take that back. And it's really cool. I mean, you were with us in 2018 when we went to Street Stock Nationals. I went with a buddy of mine, Chad. Y'all hauled the car for us, and just the level of competition, it's everybody's still running the same car, same class, but yet you're in a different area, it's a different region, and it's a totally different beast. I mean, it's a whole different mindset as far as the competitive nature that they have. I mean, hundreds of cars just throughout the pits, but what are those kind of events like? I mean, you've gotten to go to a lot more of them, with traveling and doing your big shows, but in events like that have this grandeur about them, like, does it faze you, or is it just like, all right, it's just like a weekly show, we're gonna get in here, we're gonna do our thing, all the glitz and glamour per se, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, it's just a weekly. I mean, not like I'll say weekly show, but just
like the approach, is just the approach is a weekly show, or?
Yeah, I mean we'll still do the same stuff like prep wise, and maybe bring a couple more spare stuff and just be prepared for everything. Bring enough tires and yeah.
So it's anyone that's kind of seen you race or seen your name in finishing orders, you're usually pretty stout up there in the top 5 for sure, and we'll say top 10 for sure. As far as your competitive edge and getting in there and driving with them and being smooth and clean. But what would say like your weekly routine is, or to maintain that level of competitiveness, like once the race is over, like, I mean, y'all tear the whole body panels off and just like go through it all, or just kind of nut and bolt it, scale it, and let's go?
I mean, like if it's a 1 day show, I mean, every Sunday we'll normally wash, get up no later than 10 o'clock, and pretty much, I used to hate it, but now I mean it's what you got to do to win. You know what I mean? So, and then like we'll do Sunday we'll wash, and then if we have time, we'll maintenance a little bit, and then throughout the week we'll get the car ready and then go to the track. But then like at say like a 3 day show or something, we'll be the first ones out there unloaded and start prepping on our car, and people are still asleep. You know what I mean? So we just try to outwork them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's it's something that we've touched on pretty much every episode so far in Shop Talk is the work ethic that goes into racing. You know, a lot of people think you just buy a car, get out there and drive it, but all the extra things that you learn and that you gain, it's not done, at the track, on the track, it's done off the track. And, being around it as many years as you have has really helped, I guess you could say, propel you into that mindset of, knowing how to get better and things you can do to get better. So, what would you say are like some of your goals this year as far as, things that you want to improve on and, things that you want to do here in 2021?
Yeah, I mean the main thing, I don't want no DNFs or nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not get out of the race, spin out or something like that. Drive smart and pick my battles. But like the main race I really want to win is that Boot Hill race, the Battle of the Boot, the 5,000 to win. I was thinking about that a couple of days ago. That's the main race I really want to win, and a lot of big races, and hopefully I can win that one. I'm going to try my hardest to win that thing.
And, it's as long as I've known you, you've always kind of you've been direct. You don't say much, but when you do, it's all right. Here it is. There's not much fluff to it, and I kind of poked at you a little bit earlier last couple of days about kind of getting you to kind of open up a little bit more. And man, I got to tell you, from the first interview one time at Victory Lane to now, you're doing a good job. You've grown a little bit. I don't know, Chad, what y'all have done as far as trying to get him to find his voice, I guess you could call it, but making the birthday boy blush. It's pretty entertaining, but it's I guess you could say it's a part of getting older, man. You're kind of growing up. I mean, 17 years old, about to graduate high school in 2 years, and the world is your oyster, as the old cliche goes. But you mentioned that you want to race on that grand level of the professional, quote unquote, we'll say. So what would you say that it would take from now to get to that point?
A lot of money. I mean, you just gotta. I mean, we have a really good limited program. So I mean, if people can see us and do good, and beat these good guys. I mean, if they know them, you know what I mean, and beat them, and they'll be like, man, this guy's pretty decent, and start watching me maybe. And it just takes a lot of money. You got to find the right people, and just, I don't know, you just have to get lucky. I mean, it's a very expensive sport. And lucky, I mean, I'm really blessed to get to do what I do. I mean, it's not the highest level or nothing, but I mean, in our class, I mean, we got really good stuff, and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and earlier, you mentioned, you're going to run a late model some this year, crate late model, correct?
Yep.
So I mean, are y'all going to really just kind of stick to a series, or just go wherever they're going to run late models, whether it's weekly or with a set group?
We're just gonna go wherever we feel like smartest choices and get some laps and that. And I mean, I raced one 2 years ago. Same car actually. It was a supercar. Did all right. And I think we raced 6 times in it. And then got the same car a couple years. Got a 604 crate motor. We're gonna put that thing in there. We just finished the body up on the crate car this weekend. And we'll put the motor in a couple weeks, and I think we're going to try to go to that 10,000 win at Boot Hill. Then we'll go there, and then probably go do some testing before that and make sure everything's shooken down. And it's not just going to be me racing it, too. It's going to be my Uncle Chad and the car owner, Robert, too. So it'll be fun.
Kind of have to change the old creature features, in between, each week, depending on who's running it. But, trash talking is always one of those things. It's always fun in the shop. So, if you had to put it where, y'all were going to run same track between you, Chad, and Robert, who's going to pull off the fastest lap?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Kind of put you on the spot on that one, huh? I mean, because Robert's been running for I don't know, as long as I've been around racing. I know Robert's been running, whether it's been limiteds, modifieds, and late models, and I mean, I've seen Chad just pull out the pen and paper and toss it to everyone behind him and say, take notes, running in street stock. So I mean, you've got a lot of good support around you as far as knowledge and learning, and that's one thing that always carries on is taking that and learning from the other people around you. And who's mentioned last couple of weeks about racing's a generational sport, and now you're the young man coming in and they're passing everything on down to you, and you're just getting a culmination of just all this knowledge and information that you're out there just putting the, I guess you could say, putting the proof in the pudding.
Yeah, I mean, I would be nowhere without my uncle. So he's the guy that does everything and knows what to do and makes some smart decisions. He'll tell me if I run bad, and he'll make sure I know. And so, I mean, yeah, they definitely make me a good driver.
And we do what?
Or a better driver.
Yeah, there you go. And we've seen anyone that's friends with you on Facebook. We've seen well, for lack of better terms, we've seen a pit lizard crawling around. Old Roxy's been hanging out with y'all a lot. I mean, so how are y'all hanging out with the old Roxy dirt track prowler? I mean, how'd you two meet?
That has nothing to do with me. It was my aunt and one of my biggest supporters, Sarah. They got that thing. I think it was from my dad or something, to jack around with him. And then one night after the races, they just thought of some ideas and made a Facebook page for it and started walking around the track, taking pictures with drivers, and they're having a blast with it. So I mean, that's good for them, I guess. Giving them something to do.
Gives them something to do. Man, it's a pretty humorous deal, kind of watching and following that. Everybody is always, really, really jovial when it comes to, taking pictures and all that. And, you got to have fun when you're racing, man. It's some people get a little too serious, but I mean, what's the most fun you've had? No, not necessarily like, fun you've had in a car, but just like the most fun you've had at a racetrack.
I'm not really much of a party person. Like they'll be out there till 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be hour or so after the race. I'll be in bed or working on the car, doing something. I'm not really a party person, so I'm not sure.
You don't have to. You don't have to party to have fun. Come on. I mean, I know you're 17, but you can still have fun and not party. I mean.
Yeah, I guess.
Hanging out watching us party.
Yeah, I hang out watching them parties most of the time, get crazy. And one time they had, we went to the store and they got some chicken feet and they were cooking that. It was pretty nasty. I didn't see them watch them eat it, but yeah, it wasn't. I wouldn't have ate that.
Oh, come on, man. You're at the racetrack. Sometimes you just got to eat what's there. I mean, you just kind of got to mind over matter on that.
Yeah, we didn't do too good that night, but I mean, I still ain't. I'll find me some ramen noodles or something. I ain't gonna eat no chicken feet.
Go ahead and get you some ramen noodles and start preparing for college, man. I think they're like 15 cents is what it is a pack after you buy a whole box of them. I tell you, man, when I was in college, I never ate a lick of ramen noodles. I couldn't, man. I got a friend of mine. That was something that he was a staple for him. He just eat them constantly. I'm like, dude, how do you? I don't know. To each their own, I guess, is one of those things. But, and yeah, Corey, we thank you for opening up the doors here to the shop for hospitality to RaceOnTexas coming in, and I really enjoyed kind of getting to peel a couple layers back. Let people see what goes on inside of C7 Racing Team, and where you've been, and where you're going, and it's kind of it's been good. You kind of opened up a little bit and let people see a lot of different sides of what goes on with the program.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I mean, it's been pretty fun, and thank you for having me on. And I like to thank my sponsors too, because I wouldn't be here without them. Wouldn't be having the conversation or nothing. So I'd like to thank R&L Truck Repair, Robert Metz. He's a big supporter of mine. He gives me a car or motor or rig, whatever I need to do to make it to the next race. And one time we messed up my car, and he gave me his whole car to race the night. And he's a really big guy for me. And Darren Haney with All-in-One Plumbing, he bought us a pit lift this year and helped us out a lot with some parts and all kind of stuff. Seals Hot Rod Shop, Randy Seals, he gave us some money this year and to let us venture out and hopefully make him proud. And A1 Rentals, Dwayne Mason, he's a local guy. He owns a rental company. He's helped out. He's been on here for a couple years.
Yeah, and he's over there on 11th Street in Beaumont, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so. Mark and Sandra Erb at First Class Septic, they've been with me since day one, since I first started racing. They've been there forever, and they're one of my main guys. Turbo Threads, Tyler and Caitlin, they've been helping me. New Point Lighting Design, Wayne Childress, he's been on board for a couple years now, and he's actually been sponsoring some pretty big people now, and so that's pretty cool. He cares about us little folks instead of the big guys,
Yeah.
AARE Race Engine, Stacy Zinsky, he builds a phenomenal engine, having no problems or nothing. Everything runs really smooth. Showtime Signs, and my family, my mom, dad, Brandy, she's a really big supporter of mine. She's doing all the media and PR and stuff, everything, so I really thank her a lot. Uncle Chad, he owns a lot of it, and pretty much all of it, so I'd say he helps me out. He gives up his life pretty much for me to race. We do it every single weekend almost, and yeah, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, that's quite a litany of names there that you've got behind you. And it's really cool to see a lot of people coming back from across the region, I guess you could say, of Texas and Louisiana, kind of and beyond, of getting behind in the local program. And it's a lot of those names I remember right out of the gate, from when you first started racing. So it's good to have that, I guess you could say, that continuity, having that support, and man, that really goes a long way. And yeah, man, thank you again for being a part of it. And, as always, folks, if y'all have got, questions, comments, concerns, feel free to shoot us an email or shoot us a message on Facebook, and we'll do our best to answer your questions or kind of even interview and sit down with someone who you may want us to interview so you can hear from them. But, in the meantime, until next time, I'm Caleb McFarland. Thank you, and good night.